So my overall reflections for Domain 6. I'm very pleased to get here. It's been a long, hard slog, and I just thought this week was going to be a killer. In terms of Domain 6, which is looking at reflection and ethical decision making and incorporating the Code of Standards into our actions and our work, it's been quite an eye-opener. I hadn't realised until this domain just the relevance of both the Code of Ethics and the standards for the teaching profession actually on my work. So it's been really useful to have a chance to unpack those and consider what those mean to me as an RTLB and as a practitioner, a teacher. When I started out, I didn't know anything about KIDA or ethical decision making. I just would rely on probably gut reactions for my decision making, and so I found it really interesting to look at how decision making is actually a combination. Nash and O'Neill make reference to this in terms of ethical decision making being a combination of looking at a code of standards and using the characteristics of the person involved, and also their beliefs and values, and saying that a code works best when it's a combination of all these. It's the heart and the head coming together to work out what a decision is going to be for the benefit of all parties. I found it really interesting thinking about the principles that I always thought were universal, and then realizing as I worked through the readings that a lot of the principles are things I've grown up with, things through the school system, through religion, through parents that have shaped my values and that I have thought were universal. And then I've been confronted by looking at things for students who have come from very diverse backgrounds, that are Muslim or Chinese, wherever they've come from, some different views and some different understandings. And so what's ethical isn't universal, it is subjective. And so it's been quite useful to look at that. I have also learned to be a lot more strategic in how I've done my readings. So instead of trying to read absolutely everything, which I started off doing at the beginning of the whole core theory, I was reading everything. I ran out of time, and I found with this that I actually have to be strategic and think, what is it I'm trying to get out? What do I need to know? What am I curious about now? And what might I go to later when there's a bit more time? It's opened doors to a whole lot of learning I didn't know I needed to do, and I found that really useful. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to think that I can go to my curation and use that later on to follow up on some of the readings that I'm doing. I really like the way that I've had a chance to look at the Code of Ethics. I haven't really done that before, so the Code of Professional Practice and the standards for the teaching profession, I have got a new appreciation of those and how they're going to inform my work. And I guess some of it is around the fact that we've got an ever-increasingly diverse population, and so where once we were a lot more homogenous as a society and we had maybe a couple of ethnicities that were part of our population in school, now we've got a lot of kids coming from very different backgrounds, and so there is a need to consider how we're catering for them. If we're going to be truly inclusive, how do we cater for the needs of kids? Snook talks about this in his writing about the need to make sure that we're providing an inclusive experience for our students. So the dilemmas start to increase, because where once it was just one size fits all, now it's a case of thinking, hang on a minute, we're not all the same, and we need to make sure that our babies, when they come to school, are still safe and still cared for. And if that means that we cater a little bit more widely, we're providing halal meat, we're looking at what it means for kids, that what do they wear for school uniform, what's acceptable, can they wear a pounamu, is that acceptable, can they wear something else that's culturally important? So we're starting to look at issues around what's ethical and fair. to make sure that all of our babies, all of our learners turn up at school and are safe and supported. So it's been really useful. And I think the other thing with having the code is to feel like I'm part of something bigger than me. So the decision isn't just simply mine. It's now about using that and saying, as a profession, this is what's important to us. We really need to look after all of our learners and make sure that school is a safe and affirming experience for all of them. So it's been really good. I think through the domain, I've increased my knowledge yet again, so I feel really a lot better about that. And it's also made me address issues such as the loyalty aspect, whereas we have some principles of morality and justice. Now I'm considering, how does that play out when I'm confronted with colleagues that are doing something I think, oh, I'm not really sure about what you're doing, but you're my friend and I'm not feeling like it's my place to challenge you. And now I feel actually I've got the weight of something really bigger than me to say, hang on a minute, let's look at how this plays out long term. So I think the key of it is in making sure all of our students receive an equitable education. And so I feel like I've worked through this domain, I've gained a lot of stuff I didn't know. And as I work through each domain, that's been an overriding thing, is that I come to the end of it and think, I didn't know to think about that. It's opened doors to learning I hadn't thought about, but it's about making sure education is equitable for all of our learners, for our second and third generation New Zealanders who have arrived here with parents who have been born overseas, making sure that their experience of school is one just as enriching as for anyone that's born here, and that everybody gets an education that will meet their needs and affirm them as learners and see and benefit them. So it's been a really good domain. It's a good domain to finish on, and I'm really pleased to be getting to the end of it. I think I've, as a practitioner, the culmination of all the domains has been really useful. So I'm very grateful for that, and I'm very grateful to be at the end of it and to see that there is a break for a couple of weeks, because it's been quite challenging managing my time. I've had a lot of very, very late nights, and so I'm really pleased to be at the end of the all 6 domains and think that actually I've got time now just to regroup, ready for semester 2. And I have found a lot of benefit from all of the reading, all of the research, and I feel a lot more confident in who I am as a practitioner. So my gratitude for that. And yay, I look forward to handing this in and seeing you in the next round. Thanks very much. Bye.